YouTube. Yeah. Yeah. All right. We are live on YouTube. How's everyone doing today? How's it going? Welcome to episode number 1181. That's right. Episode number 1181 of Navigating the Modern World with Eli, the Walking with Purpose live edition, live from Red Morton Park. This is day 13 of the GNA Positivity Challenge. And today we're going to be talking about never act on a scarcity mindset. Never act on a scarcity mindset. More on that in a few. Hello, babe. How are you doing? Respectfully, maturely, and professionally, Dawn. My lovely lady Dawn is in the house. The sun is already setting. It's been raining like cats and dogs here in the San Francisco Bay Area where I live. The rain stopped a couple of hours ago. And it's really not that cold. It's about maybe 58, 59 degrees. And there's really no breeze, so it's all good. Again, I'm out and about on another walk with purpose. Okay? Never act on a scarcity mindset. We're going to do 2 laps today, and then maybe a little bit more walking in the parking lot after that. And today's topic is something that I've had to learn to overcome. It is a topic that all of us have to learn to overcome because at one point or another, we have all been living our life through a scarcity mindset. And this comes into play in many different ways, right? You know, if you're a man and you're trying to find a woman to date, for example, and you focus on trying to get one woman to want to be with you, right? Instead of just being the man you were meant to be cool, down to earth, calm, and collected. Don't be desperate. Don't be pushy, right? Sure, you can ask the woman out. She might say no. She might say yes. She might say, I'll think about it. Translation, gentlemen. When a woman says, I'll think about it, it means no. It means that she doesn't fear you or think you're a bad person. She's just not attracted to you. And basically, men that behave that way are coming from a place of scarcity. They have the scarcity mindset. You need to have the abundance mindset. You need to go into it in your head thinking that, you know what, you're good enough for all women, but are they all good enough for you? And the same thing for women. It works the same way on the flip side. A little bit differently because you know, men nowadays seem to be more thirsty than ever when it comes to trying to get a woman. Not all men, but a lot of them are. A lot of men are very thirsty today, and my lady can attest to that. Huh, baby? There are a lot of thirsty men out there, right? Very thirsty. And that's not going to work in your favor. That car is going way too fast. We got some people coming. Yeah. Wow. Some people are already very triggered today. They were waiting for me to go live because they're very triggered because I'm cool, calm, collected, and down to earth. Hey, Gordo, how are you doing? Welcome to the show. And because I've been turning things around for the better, we'll get more into that in just a little bit. We can let more of the trolls come in and burn a few more of their sock accounts, right? I haven't shaved my beard in like over 3 weeks. I need to do it like tomorrow. I gotta do it. I've been swamped. No, you know what? I'm so sorry, Gordo. I've been so swamped. I keep forgetting to do it. There's no excuse. I'm so sorry. Babe, remind me to unblock Gordo's other account when I get back home later tonight. I'm sorry about that, man. I'm really sorry about that. The scarcity mindset can apply in many ways, but you never want to act from a scarcity mindset because you're going to make a lot of mistakes, and it doesn't only apply to dating; it applies to all aspects of life. Now, today, for an example, I'm going to talk about this court case I'm in again because it's the perfect example, and it's the perfect lesson to teach in a respectful, professional, and mature way. And I have some updates, and I'm also going to be sharing the behavioral responses from a group of people that have been primarily led by the defendant that I'm suing in this case, right? This group of people, I will remind them tonight. Thank you, babe. Thank you. Appreciate that. This group of people, in my opinion, is extremely obsessed, and they watch my every single move on YouTube. Whatever I say, whenever I go live, whenever we put out pre-recorded content, my lady and I, whenever I go on other people's panels, live stream panels, like, they're extremely obsessed. Why is that, right? Because they're coming from a place of scarcity. And, I've been using ChatGPT a lot lately. I actually really like ChatGPT, and it works very well if you know how to use it, right? It's a great analytical tool, right? And even ChatGPT said regarding this group and the creators within this group, primarily the man that I'm suing in a circuit civil case, and then there's another creator that he's friends with. She's been obsessed with making content on me for the last 2.5 years. The person I'm suing, he's known me for over 8 years, and over the last 6+ years has been creating extremely defamatory content on me because that's what his audience wants, right? That's what his audience wants, right? And they don't respond. I'm not saying they don't completely respond to other things that he does, but he did a stream on his pop culture channel last night and didn't really get that much traction, as to be expected, because the audience that he's built is only wanting one of two things. They want outrage, defamatory content on me. They want him coming at me, attacking me, defaming me, trying to destroy me, right? Or B, as a secondary backup, they want the same type of content on anyone else. But they primarily want it on me because the audience that he's built over the years is primarily only interested in hateful and abusive content and defamatory content on me, right? So what do you expect when you try to pivot to more neutral, non-drama type of content on a pop culture channel, then you run a live stream there and you have a celebration for reaching a milestone number of subscribers, right? What do you expect to get out of that from an audience that doesn't want that, right? Now, sure, you're going to get some people that are going to come there because they don't want you to think that they're only around when you're talking about me or defaming me, right? But do they really prefer that content? No, they don't. It's because, in my opinion, the defendant in this case that I'm suing for defamation and malicious prosecution, abuse of process, and intentional infliction of emotional distress, defendant in this case, in my opinion, has a scarcity mindset to the point of where if he pivots away from the drama content, particularly on me, and that also includes through community postings, right? It also includes community postings because this group of people, you know, they use community postings to continue and amplify the outrage surrounding me, right? And again, for the last several years, the defendant in this case, he knows I'm not really a bad guy. He knows that. He knows, yeah, we've all said some things we don't mean in the we've all said some things we don't mean in the past, right? We've all said some things that we don't mean in the past. And then we apologize and then we move on. But this guy has amplified mistakes, a few mistakes I made years ago, like 6+ years ago. And then on top of that, has completely fabricated things about me, right? Such as, you know, he's basically stated that I've embezzled money from the former insurance company I used to be an independent contractor for. And then he's gone as far and said that I told a former friend of mine that that's what happened. That never happened. She knows it. I know it. He knows it, right? But because he's in this bind right now where he's already done the damage and it's been perfectly filed in this court by me, and even the court of public opinion knows it's defamation, right? He has to still spin it otherwise, right? Because he has the scarcity mindset, in my opinion, that the moment he stops spinning it and realizes his liability exposure, which I think he already has realized his liability exposure, in my opinion. But the moment that he stops spinning this story on me is the moment that that entire audience collapses and he's on his own. Now, he can rebuild with a different audience, but that's always very hard to do. Right? But some interesting things transpired since my stream yesterday, right? Some interesting things transpired. The woman that he works in concert with, meaning that they're in the same community, right? And they create similar content, especially when it comes to me, right? The woman changed her channel name and put my name as part of her channel name. All because I filed a notice of preservation and I served the defendant by email and then filed it with the court. That's the right way to do it. with a notice of preservation to preserve all information from sock accounts that could be him or other people that he is associated or affiliated with or acting in concert with. Right? And let me tell you, that single filing right there was the biggest game changer, because eventually, we're going to hit discovery after this anti-SLAPP motion to dismiss on January 9th is done with, and we move forward into discovery. Okay? And people thinking that my case is not going to survive, I've got more than enough for my case to survive. And there's more that's happened since I filed the case, a lot more. That's going to be very helpful to show a pattern of behavioral difference between myself and the defendant. Okay? If you look at my filings compared to his, there's a world of difference there, in my opinion, right? And how he's continued to amplify the defamation. He stopped doing it right now for the past week and a half or 2 weeks or so. But before that, he was continuing to amplify the embezzlement message. He made parody videos of it. Then he made a short of that same parody video. Right? He did a stream about it. Right? He kept on amping things up. Why? Because he's running from a mode of scarcity, in my opinion. He's running from a mode of scarcity that he's going to lose this audience, and without this audience, he's probably thinking, in my opinion, that he's going to lose his identity, not only on YouTube, but in general, including real life. Like this, in my opinion, has not only become his identity, right? What he's doing on YouTube, defaming for dollars, in my situation, and this audience that acts in concert with them, amplifying the same defamation, right? He's doing whatever he can to preserve that audience because, in my opinion, he's probably thinking it's everything. It's his purpose, right? If it wasn't his purpose, he could easily let it go and do something else. He's fighting for what he assumes or thinks, in my opinion, is his purpose, right? And we all know, being a drama defaming creator for profit is not something to be proud of. As a creator, it's not something to be proud of as a purpose. If somebody were to ask you or ask him, what is your purpose? I'm a drama defaming creator for dollars on YouTube. That sums it up rather nicely, right? Okay. Give me a second here. It's sprinkling a little bit, but it's not supposed to rain. But if it does start to rain, I'll hit shelter. There's plenty of shelter around this entire park. Oh yeah, it's a little bit moist. Whoa, I gotta be careful here. So, the woman I was talking about a second ago changes her channel name because after I put all the sock accounts and people acting in concert on notice to preserve evidence and not change things, she changes her name, thinking that that's going to trigger me. Just because I'm using it as an example doesn't mean it triggers me. And no, there's nothing wrong with that as long as the underlying information is still there, and it's there. The community postings are there, even though it doesn't matter. I've got all the videos downloaded and screenshot. Here's the thing with me. If you're going to be a smart litigant, especially if you're pro se, even if you're not, if you're going through something similar as what I'm going through out here on YouTube, the smart thing is to not count on getting the information through subpoenas and stuff like that. Yes, you can request it, And in many cases, if you have a valid request, you can get it through the platforms with a court order. Hey Tia, how are you doing? Welcome to the show. Okay. You can request it, but it's not a guarantee you're going to get it, right? So every time something goes up, I download it right away and I screenshot it right away. And I have the evidence preserved, not only on my end, but on the flip side as well, right? The defendant's stuff and everyone that he's acting in concert with. Hey, Tia, I sent you a message, says Don. Respectfully, maturely, professionally, Don. Right? So, more theatrics, right? More theatrics from the woman that, in my opinion, works pretty closely with the defendant, right? And, you know, that doesn't bother me at all. You know, yeah, I responded to it maturely. And basically I'm saying, you know, you're more so proving my theory, in my opinion, that you folks, including yourself, are very obsessed and dependent on my content, not only for your audience's survival, but for your identity. Not only on YouTube, but your identity, period. Like, you folks have put your entire identity of your purpose evolving around how much longer you can keep that audience around and continue to harass and defame me and otherwise, right? And I'm sitting here telling you, you know what? I've been fighting to clear my reputation, and I'm going to keep fighting to clear my reputation. It's actually doing much better because people are beginning to see the contrast between your behaviors and my behavior, right? And again, I never said I was perfect. I've made mistakes, but I haven't made nearly the amount of mistakes that you folks have made, including the defendant, especially the defendant, right? You folks make constant, ridiculous, you know, just insane mistakes, in my opinion, every single day, right? You spend your entire days on YouTube trying to continue to destroy a man's reputation, mine. And I'm here to tell you that you're no longer effective at doing it. But just because you're no longer effective at doing it doesn't mean I'm not going to continue moving forward with the aspect legally, because the moment the legal aspect is off the table is the moment that you folks start right back up, because you folks never want to be held accountable for anything. I gotta wait because the dog is there. I gotta go on the street. I don't want to go anywhere near that dog. I'm just passing by, doggy. Okay. You know, it's that 35-pound version of Bochi, babe. He's out tonight. He's enjoying the rain. Bochi doesn't like rain. Bochi and Buster. Bochi's the king and Buster's a prince, right, babe? We take care of those dogs. We spoil them. They're primarily indoor dogs. They go outside, but they primarily stay indoors. And we take very, very good care of them. We treat them like they're our kids. You know? They practically are. That damn Bochi kept me up all last night. I couldn't sleep. I mean, I got sleep, but I was in and out of sleep. Dawn sleeps through it because, see, I handle the dogs and stuff when they're... We leave the TV on. Sometimes Bochi barks at the TV, right? And sometimes Bochi gets up and walks around. Yep, says my lady. And I take care of that because I want to make sure that Dawn gets her rest. She's still recovering from her shoulder, and she's been through a long recovery process the last several years. So I'm basically just trying to make it as easy as possible for Dawn to just rest as much as she can. But anyway, so now here's another thing. Right? This group of people, right? This group of people. This group of people they're always trying to amp things up just to keep the Eli content going, the Eli hate, harassment, defamation going, right? And I know it's typically a game to try to get me to react, right, and all that, and I'm long past that, right? And then there have been people that have reached out to me, from behind the scenes, trying to give me some information. It might be valid. It might not be. I don't count on anything from a unknown account in email to be valid, but it could be. Again, I don't know. But regardless of whether information people are trying to send me from behind the scenes or not, I messaged you back. Sorry. Don't want to say much on here. No worries. No worries, Tia. And my lady says no worries. Yeah. Okay. Regardless of what anonymous people that are sending me information via email and other ways, right? Okay. I only discuss what I feel is right and what I either know to be true or have a strong opinion on. It could be true, but because I don't have the proof, I state those things as opinions, right? That makes my speech protected by the First Amendment, right? So I'm going to talk about something here right now that I've talked about. I talked about this like I made a mistake yesterday. I believe I filed this case at the beginning of September. So this case has been filed now for about 2.5 months, right? And the defendant filed a motion to dismiss / anti-slap like the first week, right? The first week the case hit the docket, right? So we're going to stay right now until that hearing on January 9th to figure out what's going to happen there. I have my opinions on what's going to happen there. I'm not going to share them today, maybe another time. I think most people that know me and know him, know the situation, I think they know what's going to happen. I don't need to talk about that today. But regarding that hearing coming up, right? I mentioned about a month and a half to 2 months ago. I know how the defendant works. He's very sneaky and he likes to try to catch people off guard. So you always have to think at least 10 steps ahead of him. I think like 100 steps ahead of him, right? And I even said about a month and a half or 2 months ago, right? I even said that I wouldn't be surprised if during what's known as the 11th hour is like the last minute, right? I wouldn't be surprised if at the last minute, a week or two before the hearing, that he hires an attorney to try to, get my case dismissed. I've already known about that. I already talked about that, right? And today I received some information. I'm not going to tell you how. Somebody sent me information regarding something like that being talked about behind the scenes. I'm not going to say who it was. It was a stock account anyway. And whether it was sent with good intentions or to try to get me to respond, that is irrelevant, because what's relevant, how I feel, which is the same exact way I felt when I talked about almost 2 months ago, right? And I'm confident in my case. And I'm not scared or intimidated by the defendant for his own sake, based on what I've seen in his filings. If I was him, I'd hire an attorney. That's my opinion. And I think many other people that know the situation would agree. So whether he hires an attorney to represent him at the motion to dismiss / anti-SLAPP hearing or not, it's not going to rattle me. I'm not rattled. It's not going to change my case. It's not going to change the ridiculous, emotionally charged filings he already made, and the amount of procedural errors, in my opinions, that he's made. You know what? I'll respond to that suck account. You're saying the defendant is going to countersue me for legal fees. He can do that if he like. He has the right to do that. As a matter of fact, he can do that once the motion to dismiss / anti-SLAPP is is done and we move on to discovery in the regular case. He'll have 20 days to respond to my second amended complaint. Okay? But he doesn't want that. I'll tell you he doesn't want that, because he would, if he was going to countersue, he would probably countersue for monetary damages, right? I'm not suing for monetary damages. I'm suing for injunctive relief. That means he cannot subpoena my financials. If he sues me for if he countersues me for monetary damages, I can and will subpoena all his financial records. And what's going to happen when I subpoena his financial records and a lot of those records show that he was making PayPals and Cash Apps during live stream rebroadcasts of my content? It's going to further prove my case. So I welcome him to do what he wants. I mean, I'm a reasonable person. If he wants to countersue me, that'd be great. Right? So not only will he be facing discovery to unmask sock accounts, including his potential ones. I'm not accusing him or anyone of being any sock account, but potentially he could have some sock accounts, possibly. So we're going to subpoena and figure that out. Then we'll also subpoena his financial records. Right? And that's all going to become public record if he decides to go that route. So that's his choice. If you want to come here and troll, okay, I'm not embarrassed to show anything at all. There's no reason to show it. You don't like the fact that I'm not suing for monetary damages because you guys want to see my financials thinking that there's something to laugh at, right? I'm not going to give you that. I'm absolutely not going to give you that. My financials are my business, right? But if he wants to countersue me for monetary damages, which, honestly, subpoenaing his financials will prove how much money he's made during times where he was using my full content and defending my character. So I mean, hey, look, if you want to come in here and troll and try to call me an idiot and not understand the process, then hey, I'll just give it to you straight. Cool, calm, and collected, right? While you folks remain triggered because you're finally being held accountable for things that you should have been held accountable a long time ago, right? And contrary to popular belief by the defendant, he's thinking that this is retaliatory. No, I actually don't have any hate for anyone, right? I don't have any hate for anyone, including him. I don't have any hate for him. He simply has caused so much reputational harm to me that it's affected me. And I want relief from that. I want injunctive relief. And potentially there could be punitive damages, which are awarded for extremely egregious behavior. And he's practically reached that threshold to where I'd be able to file and request the judge for punitive damages. So even though I'm not suing for monetary damages, punitive damages can be awarded by the judge and the jury specifically in this case, it's a jury case, right? If the judge and jury believe that I've been wronged so badly that they want to punish the defendant, right? Right? Yeah, they can come in here and keep it. It's one guy, he's so triggered because here's the thing, like it's one best guy from Louisiana, and it's all good, whatever. You do you, dude. You do you, me. At the end of the day, whatever's meant to be, I put my faith in the Lord Jesus Christ and his Father God Almighty, right? Whatever is meant to be is meant to be. Everyone's day will eventually come, right? Everyone's day will eventually come. It's starting to sprinkle a little bit. Can you folks still hear me clearly and see me clearly? Please put a 1 in the chat if you can, okay? So here's the thing. I'm not afraid of any attorney even being hired at the last minute. Here's the thing. The longer, if he's thinking of doing this is just my opinion on the situation. If he's thinking of doing this, he should probably do it with at least a week or two notice so he gives the attorney enough time to read over the docket that he's just slammed with, in my opinion, just nonsense, garbage filings, many of which will be stricken down at one of the 2 hearings we already have scheduled. We have another hearing on the docket as well that's been recently scheduled, right? So he would need to hire the attorney with enough time to read over everything. That's going to take at the very, very least a week, and that's still pushing it compared to the amount of filings in this case. There's like, I think there's 78 filings already. And we haven't even hit discovery. Like, this case is at a stay because of his anti-SLAPP motion to dismiss, right? So, here's the thing, attorney or not, I have my information. I know exactly what to present. I'm going to be ultimately prepared. I'm going to have my laptop there, and my iPhone will be on Microsoft Teams. It's going to be a virtual hearing, right? I'll have everything prepared, and whatever Judge Stacy asks me, show me a couple examples of defamation of character. Okay? Exhibit, this is just for example, I'm just throwing it out there. Exhibit 47 of the Second Amended Complaint, Your Honor, docket number, blah, blah, blah. And Judge Stacy's going to have her computer right there. She'll be able to just click, boom, 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 and she'll be able to see it, okay? Give me an example of, malicious prosecution. Well, the previous case. Exhibit number, blah, 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 in the Second Amended Complaint. And Judge Stacy's going to be like, wow, Mr. Melas, you were very thorough with your complaint. Yes, Your Honor. It was very important that I was, because I anticipated what's happened in the docket up to this point. And I wanted to give the court the full story, pretty much 90+% of the story, before I filed the case. And Judge Stacy will probably say, well, I'm just assuming, or she may be thinking in her head. She may say, I've never seen the pro se attorney be so thorough, filing a 350-page complaint on their own that's well written and has 47 exhibits with video links and clips, all self-hosted, not relying on the YouTube link, right? Right? Like the defendant's relying on the YouTube links. And when I put my videos to private to protect my channel, which is my right to do so, right? And then I offered him the evidence to re-upload it to my private server, which he can have a streamable and downloadable link with the link, or anyone can view it with the link or download it with the link. I offered him the same exact videos, and he declined it. But then he accused me of adverse inference and spoliation of evidence, right? I wonder how that's going to fare at both these hearings, right? And here's another thing. Let me just say this. So the defendant puts on, or the defendant files, spoliation of evidence, adverse inference on me, right? Which now he requested another hearing. That hearing is going to be, I believe, February 3rd, right? That's almost a month after the anti-SLAPP motion to dismiss. If he truly was confident that his motion to dismiss and anti-SLAPP would completely wipe out my case, I mean, if he was confident that the anti-SLAPP motion to dismiss would wipe out my case completely, there'd be no need for him to file a hearing almost 1 month after that hearing is over with, right? So he's anticipating that, I'm rolling the dice. I'll see if they dismiss the whole thing, but probably not. So let's get this second hearing almost a month after the motion to dismiss and anti-SLAPP, right? Let's get it in the books right now, right? All the while, what he's telling his audience is almost the complete opposite, in my opinion, of what's actually happening for audience theatrics and preservation. Again, because I said earlier, his identity, in my opinion, is dependent on keeping that audience around. And the only way they stay around, usually, is when he defames me, right? I'm not even talking about, when he talks about me, even without defaming me, they're not feeling it, right? It really, really sucks, in my opinion, when a creator has to force themselves to defame someone's character to keep their audience around. That's what this boils down to. That's why we're in court, right? That's my slogan that I made up recently, called defamation for dollars, right? I'm here to stop defamation for dollars. I'm here to stop defamation, period. That's affecting my reputation, not only on YouTube, but all over social media. And the internet is the future, and the future is here. Most people are going to be making their money on the internet. If I didn't take this action and I allowed this guy to continue tarnishing my good name, then, pretty much that would be it. That would be it for me being able to make a decent income off the internet, right? And when your reputation is tarnished, people don't support you, and that includes financially, right? But I'm not suing for the financial loss. I am suing for injunctive relief, because once this stops, completely stops, you're going to see a big shift The shift's already starting, but it's not completely there yet because these people are still trying to force feed through the YouTube ecosphere, right? What they always have. And until that's completely stopped, it still makes it somewhat difficult for people to trust me out here or to algorithmically reach the right audience. You know what I mean? Defamation for dollars brings back memories. Oh, that's funny, Tia. ODN says, if he doesn't stop after this court case, Eli reserves the right to take him to federal. Well, no, here's what's going to happen, ODN. Thank you for being here, by the way. Part of the injunctive relief, whether it comes by way of a settlement agreement, which for him that'd be the smartest thing to do. I'm open to settlement. I am. I'm not depending on it. I'm not counting on it. I'm open to it. I'm just saying I'm open to resolving this, right? Reasonably. Part of the injunctive relief is going to be that the court retains permanent lifetime jurisdiction over him to enforce the protective injunction that would be placed on him permanently. And that injunction is not about it's not about gagging him. This is not a gag order. Let's make it very clear. He could still talk about me. He just can't defame me like he always has for money. He can't defame me. And in addition, there's going to be some stipulations in there regarding my content, right? And, ODN, that could potentially, end up in federal court. I still have, over 2.5 years in the statute of limitations to sue him in federal court for the stuff that, was not handled in the Copyright Claims Board. He opted out of the first case I filed on him, and the second case I dismissed because I dismissed without prejudice and reserving the rights to sue in federal court within the next 3 years, which is the statute of limitations, because he was going to opt out anyway. So I wasn't going to spend the money to serve him, and then he opts out, But that's still a possibility, right? But getting back to the attorney, right? I'm not worried about anything. Nothing these people say or do publicly are affecting me, right? But I can't tell you that my filing, putting the defendant on notice to preserve a stock account information and then making him aware that, after the motion to dismiss anti-SLAPP hearing, we enter discovery, I will be requesting to Judge Stacy a court order to unmask the anonymous troll accounts that are acting in concert to amplify my defamation. And these people are very triggered over that. I think more so, here's the thing, I don't even think that they are triggered, but I think they're more scared. Like on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, I ran this through ChatGPT, and ChatGPT said overall that entire group is scared and triggered at a 9.4 out of 10. And that fed it a lot of information. Like, I've been feeding this ChatGPT a lot of information for many, many months now, right? Has a lot of points to accurately depict based on their postings, the tonality, the words they use, right? It's even interesting how ChatGPT can analyze a suck account's posting and tonality to an actual creator's, right? And then tell you that the style and tonality matches 99.9% with this actual account here, right? Now, that still could be off. I'm not accusing anyone of anything. And a lot of these people I'm seeing, they're saying, oh, that's not me. He thinks it's me, or they think it, blah, 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 right? It doesn't matter what I think or what you think. It matters if it's actually you or not. I'm not accusing you, but that's what discovery is for. That's why it's called discovery. We're going to discover if you're telling the truth or not. And if you're not telling the truth, and we discover that you're amplifying defamation as a coordinated attack on me, then you're going to be discovered. ODN says it's beyond obvious. They're all worried. I would be worried, well, especially if they do a records request. Well, here's the thing, ODN. You got to be very careful with how you request discovery. I've looked into it. You have to narrowly tailor it. You can't sit there and ask for the world. You have to narrowly tailor it, and you have to have lots of proof to corroborate why you need that. What is it for, right? Now, I've already got all that. And here's the thing, to put it publicly, whether these people say I've got that or not, they know I've got it. They know what they've done. They can't stop, right? These are all like spoiled brats that are crying because someone rightfully took their toy. They're crying because someone rightfully took their toy away that they stole from me in the first place. They stole my toy. I took my toy back, and now they're crying constantly because they can't stand the fact that I reclaimed my own toy that they stole from me, in my opinion, initially, right? The figure of speech, right? Like I was saying the other day, I'm only taking back what's always been mine, right? That's all, right? But here's the thing. Whatever tactic that this group is trying to plot or surprise me with behind the scenes, even a last-minute attorney, I welcome your attorney. I welcome your attorney. I'm going to show up at that hearing expecting an attorney to represent the defendant. And if he shows up without an attorney, then hey, whatever. Either way, it doesn't matter. You see, it doesn't when you know your case is solid, and when you know you've done nothing wrong. I'm not perfect. I've said things I don't mean, but I've never harmed this guy in the ways that he and his audience have continued to amplify over the years just for entertainment content and for donations from defamation. Right? You see, the bottom line is they know that's what it is, right? In my opinion, they know that's what it is. And now they got to play it up because they're getting caught with their pants down and they don't like it, right? They're getting caught with their pants down and they don't like it. That's the truth of the matter, right? And it's funny to me, there are a few people, I'm not going to mention their names, right? There are a few people that live here in Northern California, near the mountains, right? And they threatened me. I got that screenshot, and I know you're watching, right? Are you afraid that your coordination of harassing me, acting in concert to harass me and to defame me, are you afraid that discovery is going to unmask who you are? Right? Here's the thing. I shared my opinions about you in the same ways you shared them about me. Okay? I've shared my opinions about you in the same ways you shared them about me. Right? And here's the thing. You're not a public figure. You're not creating YouTube content. You're sock accounts that come on YouTube to trash people as part of your entertainment. Right? Which is pretty sad because there's much better entertainment to watch, right? See, in my opinion, people like you need to be exposed because, first of all, it's stupid. Second of all, it's dangerous. when people's sole purpose of coming on YouTube is to have an unidentifiable account so they can go around and defame and harass people with no repercussions, right? Right? But if someone did that to you, sir and ma'am, these two people that were threatening me in some of the comment sections on the defendant's community posting, if these people were threatening you, you would protect yourself, right? Or you might ignore it, because here's the thing. The moment that you take any legal action on anyone, including me, is the moment that you lose your anonymity. And yes, you could try to conceal your anonymity to a certain point. But at some point, at least to me, you would have to disclose your anonymity. And then you would be open to my countersuit, right? If you sued me, you'd be open to my countersuit. And I have so much information, not only over the last 2 years that's actionable for defamation, but even for the last 5 to 6 years, which would show a pattern of ongoing harassment, defamation, and behavior, right? So yeah, I mean, if you're going to come out here and try to act like big shots anonymously and threaten me like that, first of all, I'm going to be cool, calm, and collected. I'm not going to let it get to me. I'm not going to trash you or attack you in return. I will professionally call you out and professionally put you in your place and tell you to go your merry way if you don't want to be implicated, possibly. That's all I'm going to say. I have the right to do that. You're acting in concert with the defendant. I have the right to do that. I put everyone on notice, right? It's my right to do so. You don't like the fact that I finally figured out a way to get this to stop legally. You don't like the fact that your toy is about to be permanently taken away from you, right? Right? It's all good, right? We are at 57 minutes. And another thing, Mr. Defendant, and I say this respectfully, and Tia says, those housewives just like stirring things up, not realizing they are hurting the case more than helping. Yeah, the defendant says nothing. He encourages it. Of course he encourages it, because it's what keeps him around, Tia. He encourages harassment and defamation type of behavior, which is what their audience wants. They want the outrage. If there's no outrage, which is primarily fueled by defamation and harassment, if there's no outrage, there's no audience. You understand what I'm saying? That's all it boils down to. That's exactly what I'm going to tell Judge Stacy. Judge Stacy's going to see. Judge Stacy's going to see the polarity difference between my filings and the defendant's, and also his videos and mine. Look, you can play past videos of mine, and I made some mistakes, and I can tell that to Judge Stacy all day. Okay? But I'm a lot more reasonable than the defendant. And Judge Stacy will see how reasonable I am and how unreasonable the defendant is. Odian says it's bizarre. All of a sudden thinks he's a First Amendment auditor. He keeps harassing me, stalking me, and defaming me. And then he cries First Amendment. No, it's the First Amendment. No, it's the First Amendment doesn't give you the right to stalk, slander, harass, and defame, right? Yeah, slander is a form of defamation. Slander, spoken, libel, written. Yeah. Yeah, only the defendant has rights, says Tia. Right. 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 I mean, if he was the president, he would be a complete dictator. Like, we would be in trouble, in my opinion. But yes, so let's talk about this one more thing before we go here. So here's Here's the bizarre thing. The bizarre thing, right? The defendant has his internet girlfriend that has severely, severely started to get involved. She's supposedly, from what I've heard, supposed to be this nice, sweet, down-to-earth, and innocent lady, right? Yet, she gets triggered very easily, right? She very, very much emotionally overreacts. I can see, in my opinion, I can now see the polarity of similarities between the defendant and his internet girlfriend that's anonymous on the internet, right? They're both very, very emotionally reactive. And they're going to react to this, right? And I don't listen. I'm not here to trigger anyone. I'm here to just state the facts and the story and to set the record straight for my audience and to also continue rebuilding my reputation that this guy and this whole group of people over the last 6+ years, even longer, have tarnished my reputation. I have the right to defend my reputation, right? So him and his internet girlfriend, right? They're very, very emotionally reactive. I can understand his woman being more emotionally reactive. I get it. It's more of a feminine thing. But him being so emotionally overreactive, including in his filings and including in his postings, like everything you see out of this guy, emotionally reactive postings, emotionally reactive court filings, emotionally reactive live streams, he's always emotionally reactive, right? Now, some people have come out and said this is his online persona. Maybe to a certain extent, he does amp things up. But just because you're amping things up doesn't mean underneath all of that you are emotionally reactive. And then amping up something regarding someone being already emotionally reactive just makes them more emotionally reactive legitimately, in my opinion, right? And it's really, it's so bizarre how this group of people has reacted. It's like they're having a temper tantrum. They're having a temper tantrum that I'm standing up for myself and taking back what's always been mine. And, taking back my good reputation that I've always been, that they tarnished. Like they're having a major temper tantrum. Like little kids, like a bunch of little kids as 30, 40, and 50+ year old grown adults, right? And they're having temper tantrums over someone that just wants to help people on YouTube with positivity, right? You see, along with helping people become more positive, you have to help them understand how to deal with the negative. My lesson to teach here is that don't let this stuff get to you. I share my stories because, look, you should see what ChatGPT has said. The fact that I've been able to just feed it so much information and stay calm and neutral and just grounded and not be worn out. You see, I firmly believe the defendant was trying to wear me out with all of these filings, the way everything happened, the way that his friend that I put in the factual allegations of the case as someone that's a known associate acting in concert with him, she ended up making like 5 filings. And she's not a party to the case, and I filed the motion to strike those filings. At some point, they'll be brought in front of the judge, right? This non-party person also has tried on many occasions to request a hearing from Judge Stacy's judicial assistant. The judicial assistant has already told her that you are not a party to this case. And then this woman continues to try to request a hearing every now and then. It's almost like she's trying to do it on purpose to try to get me to react and say something to the judicial assistant, and no, I'm not going to react, ma'am. I'll do that here on my channel if I have to in a professional way. I'm not going to waste the court's time on that, right? And here's the thing. You folks would be surprised, like how much of this nonsense on YouTube the court cares about. All they care about is there defamation? Is there malicious prosecution? Is there abusive process? Is there intentional infliction of emotional distress? And whatever evidence is presented, is it relevant to those aspects of the case? If not, objection, Your Honor, relevance, right? Right? You want to bring in an outside attorney because, hey, you yourself, and you have the right to do whatever you want. Either way, I'm cool. Even if I wasn't cool, it's out of my control. But I'm cool I'm just telling you, I'm cool either way, right? I'm cool either way, attorney or not, right? I'm cool either way. Give me a second here. There's some people doing some yoga out here. But your internet girlfriend is basically screaming out loud, trying to defend the defendant on something that she herself knows deep down inside is wrong. Here's the thing to the defendant's supposed internet girlfriend, right? Before you go on your next tirade, right? Or your temper tantrum, right? Why don't you ask your man for the proof that he has of embezzlement? Because it never happened, and I never shared that story with the person that they claimed I shared it with. That was never talked about. It never happened. So help me God. May lightning strike myself and my family dead. He knows it. Everyone else knows it. But they're in a bind. So now, in my opinion, I feel they have to make something up to kind of to try to warrant why he made those defamatory statements. He's trying to say all I was doing was relaying a message that you told your former friend that I'm now friends with, right? I never told her anything like that because that never happened. That was all fabricated for content years ago, right? And I'm going to say to you here now and everyone else publicly and even in court is show me your proof of that. Heck, you could even try to hunt down and call my former boss. You folks looked into it. You know who she is. There was no arrest record, no criminal record. It never happened. I would never do anything like that. You folks know that's not true. All of you do, right? But because you've been playing it up so long, and now I finally filed this case, and now you have to answer to it, now you got to find ways to cover your tracks, right? And here's the thing to the defendant, right? The reason why it's defamatory, even though you didn't initially put out that statement, is because you kept repeating it after I put you on notice. I put you on notice that it is not true. And immediately after I put you on notice and filed it with the court, you kept on amplifying the same slanderous message of embezzlement. That's called reckless disregard. I didn't even get a chance to read I don't even understand. I don't even know what he said. What did he say? What did he say? ODN or anyone else, can you tell me what he said? And it's probably a sock account. Anyway. Yeah, no. She did retract. She did retract the information. Okay. And look, I feel she's been put in a position that she doesn't deserve to be in. Okay? Hang on a second. I'll be right back. All right, we are back live. We are back live. All right, we are back live. We are back live. Can you put a 1 in the chat if you can hear me clearly and see me clearly? Put a 1 in the chat if you can hear me clearly and see me clearly. Please. Can you folks hear me and see me? Thank you, Tia. I saw it. I saw it. I got a screenshot from behind the scenes. Thank you, babe. So I pay him, and that's not even him. That's not even him. He would not do that. Yeah, I mean, based on what he's done in the past, you would think he'd be someone that would come here and troll on an account with his name and saying that. I don't think that was him. I don't think he would do that at this point in the case. I think that was, you know who I think that was? I think that was Louisiana Man. I got to be fair. Listen to me. I'm not here to harm anyone, including the defendant. This has never been about harming him. This has been about defending my reputation that he's tarnished through his content. And then the other things he did, because the woman, in my opinion, the woman that he's acting in concert with, I believe, in my opinion, forced him to file a stalking case on me. It's my opinion. I'm stating it as an opinion. It's a strong opinion. And that's what got him in this mess. So, to the defendant, if you think I'm doing this as retaliatory, no. And see, here's the thing. You can have your attorney, or you can ask me yourself if you represent yourself, attorney or not at the hearing. You can ask me, you're just filing this case because you're retaliating on me. No, you filed a fraudulent stalking order on me. I've never done that. It caused me a lot of emotional distress, took a lot of time away from my family to defend myself against false charges, right? This is not retaliatory. This is standing up for being harmed and wronged legally, right? I'm ready for any questions that you pro se or your attorney at the 11th hour comes on in this anti-slap motion to dismiss, right? I'm ready either way. I'm ready either way. But going back to your internet girlfriend, right? Ma'am, you're talking about me publicly. I'm not even mentioning your name or your sock account name. And I'm coming at you politely and saying, I thought you were a better person than to involve yourself with this drama garbage that you know is garbage. You yourself know I've never embezzled. I've never done anything like that. But you go along with it. You go along with it because you want to maintain your status with the defendant which is fine. Which is fine. But it's very abnormal and odd for a woman in your stature that I've heard. You're in a professional career. You've got a family, right? And all that. It's very bizarre for you to be okay with this type of behavior because you don't want to upset the defendant. Here's the thing. If that's the type of person you are, in my opinion, if that's the type of person you are, if you're that vindictive of a person, and if, in my opinion, your level of cognitive dissonance is at that level to where you think what the defendant is doing to me is normal, then I can understand, in my opinion, why your husband has divorced you or is divorcing you. That's my opinion, right? Because I'll tell you this, I would never put up being in a relationship with a woman that behaved this way or was okay for her or other people she's associated with to treat people this way. You're, in essence, signing off on shitty, piss poor behavior. Yet at the same time, from what I've heard about you, because I don't know I don't know your name, I don't know anything about you besides your stock account and the defendant's supposed girlfriend over the internet. And you've met one time is what I've heard, right? I mean, what do you expect people to think about someone like you that is basically, in my opinion, signing off on all this, right? Which is why you want to keep yourself anonymous, because here's the thing. You all want to be anonymous. Here's the thing. You all want to be anonymous because the moment people find out who you are, they're going to troll you 1,000,000 times worse than you folks ever trolled me combined. Yeah, well, here's the thing. Don't come in here and try to pretend to be somebody they're not. Don't come in here and pretend to try to be somebody that you're not, right? I'm going to go just another 10 more minutes. We're at 78 minutes an hour and 18 minutes. Okay. I know that's not the person. I will say this. I know that person is watching. And for the most part, they've been staying out of this. And I also understand why they've done what they've done so far. Okay? I understand it. And the fact that they're keeping their distance is pretty respectful, I will say that. So don't come in here and try to pretend to be someone you're not. Just because you want a little attention, or because what I'm saying here on my stream is contradicting everything you've said and done, not only for the last day or week or month, but the last, 6 to 8 years. It's all one big contradiction. And I'm one of the few people, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I'm one of the few people that can clearly emphasize my words and state things as they are. Right? My advice to people is this. Don't get yourself involved in something that, you don't deserve to be involved in. What I'm basically telling the people that are acting in concert to help amplify this shitty behavior and this defamation and all that, and slander and all that, right? Slander, defamation, same thing. Slander spoken, libel written, right? I'm basically telling you folks, go your own way and stop amplifying something that could potentially implicate you down the road. I'm not threatening you. I'm here telling you to move forward onto bigger and better things. And don't insert yourself in a situation that's going to backfire. And don't come out and say, hey, oh, see, here's the thing. You folks get put on legal notice through the court. This is a legal document. Listen, my notice to the court right now is not actionable at the moment. What it's doing is it's setting the record. So that way, the judge will see, well, Eli put him on notice, and then they continued to do the same thing. And not only did they continue to do the same thing, they amped it up more once they were put on notice because they were triggered that Eli's doing the right thing by using the court to hold them accountable instead of how some other people just show up in person. And I'm going to stop there because I've heard some people out here on YouTube say we handle things the old-fashioned way. I don't do that. I'm going to handle things in court because the court can take action and hold people accountable, whether they like it or not. On YouTube, it's up to the YouTube gods, or a lot of times nothing ever happens, right? You got to understand, there's a fine line between YouTube and the courts, right? You folks on the defendant's side of things are all about YouTube theatrics, and you're all about amping things up. You like to call it fun. You like to call it your freedom of speech. You like to call it, entertainment, whatever you want to call it, right? And you keep on pushing that because you're thinking that you're invincible and no one's ever going to try to hold you accountable legally. And now that you're being held accountable legally, you folks are so triggered and you're so scared because reality is sinking in. Again, you can sit there and rant and rave all you want. You can sit there and make all the emotionally reactive postings in the world, right? You can call me every name in the book. Calling me a name is typically not defamation unless you accuse me of something. Like if you accuse me of a crime I didn't do, that's defamation, right? If you insult me, hey, whatever. I can brush it off. I don't care if you insult me. Insult me all you want. You folks do that all the time. If you continue defaming me for attention and dollars, right, and audience preservation, you're going to be held accountable. That's what it all boils down to. Right? And again, the court is not going to care about these streams unless there's something defamatory, right? Me sharing my story, making my audience aware. I'm not defaming anyone. I'm not mentioning names. I'm just stating a situation and how I'm handling it and how you should handle it, or give you a good idea of how you should handle it if you ever get in this situation, right? Well, in your opinion, speaking of Jeffrey Epstein, the Democrats released some files yesterday. And now, they got, 218th vote by Adelita Grijalda, I think her name is, that's joining Congress, I think from Arizona. And now Congress is going to vote on releasing all of the Epstein files. That Trump on one hand says initially, oh yeah, we'll release all the Epstein files. And now that, all this stuff is going on and all of Trump's administration is seeing what's on those documents, now they're trying to delay releasing them. Well, that's telling, isn't it? Right? But see, here's the thing. When you have when you have a president that fills the Supreme Court with justices that are on his side, that's going to be really hard to compel. If it gets, getting to the Supreme Court, it would be hard to get the Supreme Court to rule their release. Now Congress is going to vote on it, right? Congress is also going to vote in December on whether the extended ACA Affordable Care Act, Obamacare credits are going to be approved, and and it's probably going to get turned down because the Republicans are going to vote against both, right? But here's the thing: what are people going to think about their own Republican constituents when their health premiums double because they voted down because they want to, further support Trump's big, beautiful bill on where they took that money from, right? If they release the Epstein files, they'll probably find stuff regarding both parties. It won't just be Trump. Oh, yeah, no. It won't just be Trump. It'll be all of them. It'll be Democrats. Or everyone will be guilty. everyone went on whatever they call it, Epstein Island or whatever that shit was, right? Let's release the files and tell the story and then do like a Netflix or Hulu documentary on it. Everyone that's appeared on Epstein Island. Or they could call it like Epstein Island, the untold story, or something like that, right? Can you imagine? All that information comes out. The documentaries, man. Man. These people don't want to be implicated. Or at the very least, they don't want to be embarrassed, right? I think it's more about embarrassment. Because if they were going to be implicated, they would have been initially implicated. That stuff goes deep. If they were to release the real deal, you would probably see Hollywood actors and actresses on it and all kinds of prominent people, regardless of their political affiliation. Oh, dude, this would be like ODN. This would be the biggest documentary in history, wouldn't you think? Like the Epstein documentary, Epstein Island, or whatever the hell you want to call it, right? This would be like the biggest documentary. And Netflix, and Hulu, and all of them. Disney owns Hulu. They would all get on that. They would all get on that, man. Everyone will be watching, right? People will subscribe just to be able to watch it. I'm just going to say this one more time. I'm not telling anyone to do what to do. But I'll say again, actions have consequences. And court is real. And what I'm doing is real. And I have the right to do it. And I'm only doing it because I've tried to handle this the reasonable way for 8 years. ODN knows I have tried, and I've been so nice to handle this the right way for 8 years. It was never going to change. And for the rest of my life, I would not be able to run any business on YouTube because of the reputational harm that's been caused primarily by the defendant and the people he's associated with amplifying his defamation. It was never going to change. It was never going to change. Right now, we are at 90 minutes, an hour and a half. All right, I got to go, folks. Love you all. Any final questions? Get your final questions, comments, and concerns in the chat. I'm going to be going off the air in just a few minutes. ODN. Oh, respectfully, maturely, professionally. Have a good night, everyone. Your body is a palace. Fill it with love, peace, and happiness. I love your quotes, babe. Thank you so much for that. ODN. Oh, dude. They've tucked tails since you've made these legal filings. If you didn't do this, they would be rebroadcasting you right now. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I have worked my ass off all year to stop the defendant from massively abusing me in many ways: copyright, right of publicity, defamation of character, harassment, stalking, everything, right? I mean, I did think about filing a stalking and harassment order on him. It's what he's doing on YouTube, but it would be hard to prove in the court. That's the only reason why I haven't done it. I'll be honest about it. I do feel stalked and harassed, but these internet cases are very hard to prove. That's why we're in civil court, because in civil court, you can sue for defamation and then have a wider scope, and that can include an order to stop the behavior. It's in civil court, which is, you have the court of injunctions, right? Of stalking injunctions. Then you have, a circuit civil court, right? They have what's called protective orders. And the judge has inherent authority to issue what's necessary to stop, unlawful behavior. This is not about silencing anyone's freedom of speech. It's never been about that. This guy can talk about me all he wants. He can even call me a piece of shit if he wants, right? It's not about that. It's about the defamatory stuff. It's about the false statements as facts. On the copyright end of things, it's been about violating my right of publicity. Well, that's part of a civil case. I'm not suing him for that at this point. I mean, I could, but I'm not suing him for that at this point right now. I have my reasons for that. I'm not going to get into it, but I could sue him separately still for copyright, and that's a possibility. What I'm hoping is, once this case is all said and done, that he finally realizes, hey, man, this stuff was just never cool. It's not right. I think it's gotten to the point of where, for him, it's now a game of how long he can keep on getting away with it, even during this case. And maybe he's thinking, well, what if I get lucky and this case gets dismissed? And then I can just go right back to defaming and harassing Eli, right? Because that's what he would do. Let me ask you folks one more question in this chat. If I lose this case, I'm not saying I'm going to, I'm hypothetically speaking, if I lose this case, how many of you, put a 1 in the chat if you believe this guy would go right back to rebroadcasting, would go right back to defaming, would go right back to everything? Put a 1 in the chat if you think that's what would happen. Put a 2 if you think otherwise. My lady says 1, right? He'd go right back to doing it, right? Because in essence, he would still have no accountability, right? This is about accountability, which he's never dealt with in his life, right? If he's not held accountable here, he's going to feel invincible from any accountability. And I'll tell you what, it's only going to get worse, right? So I am hoping that the court sees what's going on here and does the right thing, because, the future is really dependent on this being handled properly. With that being said, love you all. Got to go. I'm going to get some dinner for Dawn and I, and then we're going to enjoy our night. Tonight we're watching Chicago PD. That was on NBC yesterday. It's on Peacock today. Tonight, NBC has Law & Order and Law & Order SVU and Law & Order. And tomorrow we'll watch it on Peacock with no commercials. 1 and probably worse. Absolutely. Oh, there's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. He would first gloat about it forever. He would be gloating. You tried to silence my freedom of speech, and you know, you went all out. You spent all this time and money and blah blah blah, and it got you nowhere. I'm the king, and you can never stop me, and I'll never stop. You can never stop me. Freedom of speech, fair use, freedom of speech, right? You'd never hear the end of it, right? You never hear the end of it, even though in my case, I know what the right thing is. I know what's going on. It's all in the judge's hands and the jury's. In this case, it's a jury trial. But when it comes to the motion to dismiss, this is going to be in front of a judge. With that being said, have a good one. Take care, and as always, be good to each other. We're at 96 minutes, an hour and 36 minutes. See you all tomorrow. Good night, everyone.